Ladies and gentlemen, please stand and welcome the 57th governor of the great state of New York, Governor Kathy Hochul.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Thank you. That's why I'm not leaving the North Country. I feel the love. I feel the North Country love, and it's amazing. It's so great to be back here. I don't know that you know this. Some of you may have heard the story. I've been coming here since I was a little girl. I know many of you families are generational. And we couldn't afford one of the nice houses, but we always brought a station wagon and a camper pulled behind it, and we'd pop it up. And there were 8 of us, 1 camper, 1 station wagon. I remember a lot of times camping, and we couldn't really go into the town because restaurants were too expensive for us, even some of the diners. Making the pancakes on the frying pan, and it's pouring out. You had really soggy pancakes over the fire. But this is a place that just a place of renewal for me. And I hope those of you who call the North Country your home, whatever part of it, never lose the sense of awe about this extraordinary place on earth that God gave us to protect our natural assets, the great beauty, the charming hamlets, above all, the people. The people up here are so hardworking. They're so resilient. People here can handle anything. Heat waves, bring it on. Forest fires from Quebec, bring it on. Blizzards, bring it on. You're tough here, but I've seen this region grow and evolve, and bringing my own children up here too. And I just want to tell you, I'm really so touched by what we've done here and so many more opportunities we have. And I do want to acknowledge a few people who have joined us here today. And I mentioned my children. They do have a father, and he happens to be your very first New York State first gentleman because you never had a woman governor before. So, ladies and gentlemen, my husband, Bill Hochul, is here. Going on 41 years, and so that has been a gift to me. Yes, indeed, yeah. We also have Assembly Member Billy Jones, a great, great leader in our state capitol. Yay, Billy. I'm a little partial to local government officials. I spent 14 years on a town board with a great supervisor, and you have one of the best, Jordana Malik. I want to thank her for crossed, endorsed, no opposition. How do you do that? But it must mean you're doing the right thing, and I want to thank you, and I also want to recognize Mayor Jimmy Williams is here. The village of Saranac Lake has joined us. Thank you, Billy. Thank you. And you'll be hearing from the people who were just introduced our entire speaking program, and I have a chance to gather with you afterward. But I was here, been coming here a lot, but on a professional level, I was here in 2014 when I was just running for lieutenant governor, becoming lieutenant governor. And I was one of the first people to walk through the Hotel Saranac when it was under construction. Who was with me on that day? I've not warmed up since then. There was no heat in the building. It was the winter time, and I literally, were you with me, Billy? Was that the coldest day of the year? And I'm thinking, this would be a really quick visit because it is about 30 degrees in here. We went on for an hour, all the nooks and crannies had to show me this. I literally went across the street to the little store and bought some slippers that were really warm and wore them for the rest of the day. So to see the transformation of something that was abandoned and it just kind of was mocking, saying, the best days are behind us. That was never the case because people never gave up believing. And that is just a beautiful place, and I'm so looking forward to stopping over there later. And, I've mentioned, we announced I was here when we did the DRI, the Downtown Revitalization Initiative. Who was involved in that project? That was... Pendragon Theater, funding for that, and so many other initiatives. I don't know who was with me that night. We were literally dancing in the park. Anybody? No, you don't remember this. I got a better memory than all of you. But And also what we're doing with the historic Trudeau home down the street and the work we're doing, that's beautiful. Multi-million-dollar restoration this weekend and bringing more visitors here to showcase the incredible history of not just this community, but the entire North Country and everything from the Wild Center to the Adirondack Museum. I've been to it all. I was actually at the Wild Center. They had me, it was a day, it was thundering and lightning, and they had me going up in that little bird nest. I was like, I'm not sure this is very smart, but okay. But also, all the grants we've had, over $20 million in NISCA grants. And if you're an arts group, you know about NISCA, everything from upgrades and new commission. We believe in it. Now, we also love our Olympic facilities up here, $725 million for the ORTA facilities, because we know what an economic driver that is. Who's been on the Adirondack Rail Trail? I know Lee Keat has been. Where's Lee? $13 million. People talked about for a long time. We got it done. So when I say I know this region, I love this region, I mean it. There's a strong sense of identity here, a strong sense of community, a strong sense of momentum. But I tell you all this with great love and admiration for this part of our state. But because of that, I had to come here today and tell you why this moment in time is very perilous. It's dangerous. Because right now, because of decisions being made in Washington as we speak, that this area is under siege. We're being pulled back by Washington, and we cannot have this happen because there's such a vibrant economy here. Our relationship with Canada means everything. It is so important to us. You know, the effect of tariffs, and if you just got the news alert, it was not good. Turn off your cell phones if you want to enjoy the rest of the day. But basically, the president just announced that all conversations about trade with Canada are shut down. We're not going to continue any more conversations. So that's a news flash. We've got that challenge. The response of the Canadians to the talk of making it a 51st state, that hurts them. They feel betrayed. And as much as I met the leaders from the eastern Canadian provinces, met with the leader of Ontario, met with people from Quebec, I met with New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, Prince Edward Island, I met with all of them, with governors from the Northeast who are trying to say, what can we do to heal this relationship? It's everything. You're not another country, you're our neighbors, you're our friends. You come here, we go there, we celebrate each other. And they said there's nothing you can do right now because they're so hurt, so wounded. I won't give up on that, but I just want to tell you today was another setback. And I didn't want you to just hear from me because I can give you the whole list of what's going on with agriculture and our healthcare system, tourism. I want you to hear from the people who live this every day, who aren't sleeping as well tonight or this past few weeks or past few months, knowing that there's programs in place that we benefit from. We want to keep them going. We're not asking for more. Just don't give us less. Don't cut us off. So I want you to hear directly because I need you mobilized. And I'll get to that a little bit later. But you need to know what's at stake here. And like I said, we'll just start with something like tourism. People love coming here. And during the pandemic, so many people who never left, they think Westchester's the North Country and upstate. A lot of people from New York City, a large population base, they came up here and explored and they fell in love as well. People from other states have discovered this area, people from all over. Tourism is our bread and butter up here. We know how special we are. And it's just, you've got the breathtaking mountain views and the world-class institutions, but tourism powers 20,000 jobs just right here in these small communities. And it's about $1.7 billion in visitor spending. That's a lot of money that we need to keep coming. But as I mentioned, these new round of tariff fights and trade fights, with the Canadians not coming, this is going to continue choking this region. You're going to be able to get easier reservations in the restaurants, but we don't want that. We want them crowded. We want our hotels booked. Our streets populated with people who are going to shop. I'm here to shop, but I can't make up for all the Canadians that aren't coming. I'm not going to try even, honey. Don't worry. But we're here to say we're still their friends. We want you to keep coming, but I think this is going to be hurting for a while. We actually have 400,000 fewer Canadian visitors already this year. I mean, this is not even a year. This is just since 2025 compared to the same time last year. The Ogdensburg and Champlain bridge crossings, they're down nearly 30%. Now, Gary Douglas, who is the eternal optimist, and I love him for that, you'll be hearing from him, he says, well, that still means 70% are coming. Great perspective, Gary. But I want the 30% back. I want to be where we were, right? We didn't do anything. We just living our lives, working hard. And it's just the policies and decisions that are made elsewhere that have such an effect on all of us. You know, the North Country Chamber of Commerce says businesses, hospitality are down 20 to 25%. It's just the beginning of summer. It's just the beginning. The Malone Golf Club, alone they said they've lost $400,000 in Canadian tourism dollars that they used to count on. I don't know how you pay the bills. I don't know how you pay your staff, how you keep the lights on. So tourism's taking a hit. We know that. It might get worse before it gets better with the way things are evolving even just today. But let's talk about something that all of us rely on, that we cannot live without literally. And I'm talking about health care. And here's another area. It does not have to be this way. And I'm not giving up hope. But congressional Republicans who are in the majority, backed by Donald Trump, have passed a budget that slashes $13.5 billion from New York's health care system, including $357 million just in the North Country alone. We cannot sustain those cuts. And the state of New York is not going to be able to backfill that. We don't have that much money to be able to do it. And that's what is literally what is being contemplated now. Now, here's the political fact, and this is not about campaigns and elections. This is stating the truth. Every Republican in the New York delegation voted for that plan. But there may be another opportunity to do the right thing. That's where your voices matter. And so, health insurance coverage. It would take it away from 1.5 million New Yorkers, including 44,000 people in this region who will not have health care. Do you think that means they're going to always be healthy? They'll never get sick? No, they're going to be walking into our hospitals, the ones that are still standing, as their primary care visitors, running up the costs even more. They're still going to need help. People get sick. Little kids need attention. People have babies. What do we do with 44,000 people without health care? 1 out of 3 people living in the North Country rely on Medicaid. Now, you take away that. A lot of people say, well, that's Medicaid's for the poor people. That's not me. Guess what? It's your parents or grandma and grandpa in the nursing home. It's your kids and your neighbors with disabilities. And you destabilize our communities. You hurt health care. You hurt our hospitals. Even if you're not on Medicaid and you go to a hospital, the lines are going to be a lot longer. The services may not be there because they're going to have to scale back based on these cuts too. So it affects the entire community. And already many of our hospitals in the North Country are at risk. They operate on razor-thin margins. And they serve large Medicaid populations. So not just for Medicaid patients, remember this, it'll affect everyone. And then healthcare is basic. Food is basic. Now, if you're fortunate enough to not even know what SNAP stands for, that's great. But a lot of your neighbors rely on SNAP benefits, a federal program that helps people to be able to pay for fresh food and be able to feed their families. It's another safety net that's threatened by federal cuts. Nearly 90,000 of your neighbors rely on SNAP benefits. That's extraordinary. A third of them little kids. I'm New York's first mom governor. I'm proud of that. But it makes me think when I think about little kids not getting food or their tummies growling when they're supposed to be in class because they didn't have enough because of programs like this were cut. That just hits me right here and all the parents out there. And it also, not just for preventing hunger, it helps support our incredible agricultural community. The most resilient people, the hardest working in the world are our farmers. I was proud to represent one of the most rural communities in the state of New York as a member of Congress. I knew almost every farmer by name. One county was big in dairy. They had 40,000 cows and 20,000 people. I even knew all the cows' names. I mean, this is who I am. I understand the importance of dairy and the crops, and it feeds all of us from here to New York City and around the world. It used to feed Canada. But these SNAP programs bring in dollars that they can count on. So they know there's a market for their products. It keeps dollars in our communities and food's on the table. We lose that, the farmers feel the pain as well. Agriculture has almost 9,000 jobs in the region and contributes $1.1 billion to the economy. See what I'm adding up here? It's starting to be a big effect, isn't it? It's so important to us. And tariffs are driving up the cost for farmers and everybody. Let me tell you, just back in February, tariffs had just started. I brought together farmers from particularly the North Country, but mostly upstate, brought them together in the Capitol, said, just tell me what's going on. What are you seeing? One farmer said, well, we used to get part of our fertilizer ingredients that are only made in Canada and Ukraine. Those costs went up. The shavings from the wood we had put in our stalls came from Canada. He says, my costs already in February had gone up $10,000 a month. He says, and they're going to get worse. And then they lost the markets that they had for their products overseas in Canada. So it is so hard for our farmers. Any farmers in this room? Anybody know a farmer in this room? And this is one of the toughest businesses. Let's hear it for our farmers. Let's hear it for our farmers. As Washington walks away from its responsibilities, right here we'll step in and do what's right. And that's why my administration has made record investments in agriculture, $10 million for farm to school, meaning the farmers know they can sell to our schools, and we're focusing on making sure that our state agencies and everybody buy more food from New York farms to keep them strong and healthy. When they succeed, our communities succeed. We're also protecting health care. We expanded the Essential Plan and offering more services, I mentioned, to 1.5 million New Yorkers who don't have to worry about it. Now, compared to the rest of the country, our uninsured rate is only 5%, one of the lowest in the nation. That means when people do get sick, they have an avenue. They have someone who's going to take care of them, and they don't have to worry about bankrupting their family because of medical bills. And something I'm really proud and excited about, our last budget, we worked so hard. Those of you keeping score will know it was a little late, but guess what happens when it's late? I've got a lot more power. Okay, so I'm okay with late. Sorry, Billy. It's true, right? It's true. Okay, I'm 7 for 7 on everything I said. I'm not leaving town without. But one of them is focusing on people, just everyday families, hard-working New York families, and putting more money back in their pockets. When I gave my State of the State address back in January, I said, your family is my fight. I'll do everything I can to help you with those bills, utility bills and mortgage bills and education bills and the grocery bills that are so high. I said, we're going to figure out a way to do this. So through middle-class tax cuts, the largest rate decrease in 70 years, expanding the child tax credit so families with children under 4 years old will get $1,000, older kids $500. It adds up. We're covering the cost of school breakfast and lunches. It adds up. And our inflation rebate. What is that? I'm going to tell you this because some people criticize this. People criticized us giving money to New Yorkers. You go figure that one out. Because of inflation, you paid more for everything. Am I telling you anything you don't know? Everything was higher. But the state of New York got a windfall because we collect sales tax on every purchase. So we raised about an extra $3 billion, and I immediately said, that's not our money. That's money that came from New Yorkers that they weren't expecting to pay. Let's give it back to them. So families will be able to get upwards of $300, $400, even more dollars back in their pockets. And if that doesn't sound like a big deal to you, then you're not shopping with the same people I am when I'm walking through the discount grocery stores with people looking at the price of everything from eggs to diapers, because this means something to people. So add it all up, everything I just mentioned, $5,000 back in the pockets of New York families, and it's starting right away. That's how we start making the difference. And for adults who are still trying to figure out what they want to do, or they thought about going to college or community college, we have great community colleges up here. Thought about it, but it's just too expensive. We have so many industries, and I've identified a handful of them. We have vacancies. We have high-demand industries and professions where I don't have enough workers. So healthcare. I need more healthcare workers. I need more people in advanced manufacturing as we're continuing to expand. I've got people in the green energy jobs. So people willing to go into those jobs, adults 25 to 55, will pick up the cost of your education at a community college. It'll help fill the seats in our community colleges, but also give people a chance to live up to their full capacity and get a good paying job and contribute, pay taxes. So that's something else we're doing for families of people who just struggle. And we have 10,000 people signed up for this fall. One woman said, I've always dreamed of going and becoming a nurse. I never had enough money to go to school. $8,000 for her. To cover that cost of a community college will change her life forever, and it serves a purpose for us. That's what smart policies are all about. So New York State. So to my friends here in the North Country, this is a vibrant, growing region. I have talked to many businesses who want to come here, and I'm going to continue incentivizing them and encourage them. It's part of our identity as a state. I'm proud of that enormously. And to every healthcare worker in Saranac Lake or anywhere else, every hotel owner up in this area, every family farmer, every parent that's watching prices climb, I want you to know this. I have your back. I will always have your back. I will fight for you. I will make sure that you have what you need to survive. You're not going to be forgotten. But in closing, let me tell you this. I laid out a fairly dark, depressing scenario, right? I'm just trying to give you a reality check. I really am. Because I'm seeing enormous power in this room. Enormous power to affect change. And one thing we know, the North Country believes in miracles. 45 years ago, the miracle on ice shocked the world, but all the eyes on our small communities up here and what was happening when a small, scrappy team stood up to the entrenched interests, Russia, and won. So, I believe in the North Country miracle too. I really do. If we can harness the power of all your voices, we only need to persuade one or two Republican legislators to say, please put your district first. Please fight for us. Take care of our tourism and our issues about tariffs, and take care of our families, and take care of our farmers and our health care. Just be on our side. And you don't have to vote for this when it comes back. You don't have to. No one's making you do that. And with that pressure and that message saying, fight for us because we deserve it. We put you in office. Now, please take care of us. We can have the most extraordinary change of events that will not just help the North Country, but the entire nation. I believe that all of you have the power to win this game. And it's not a hockey game we're talking about. We're talking about life. We're talking about life. Are you with me as we fight for a North Country miracle? Can we get that done, everybody? Let's fight hard to get that done. Let's get that change done. I know we can do it. I know we can do it. So thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. With that, let me bring up Dan Kelleher, the CEO of Ruth. Dan, come on up.
Wow. How do you follow that, right? Governor Hochul, thank you very much for coming up to the North Country and for advocating on our behalf. We are confident because of your continued work for us. I also want to thank you for the incredible team that you've put in place here in the North Country. Ali Webanero, Steve Hunt, Joe Zalewski, Randy Young, Barb Rice, Ashley Walden, and Kristen Sayers. They are a terrific team, and we're so grateful for all their support here in the North Country as well. So thank you. Here in the North Country, it's no secret that we are very reliant on tourism, but it doesn't get out how much concentration there is in that industry here in the Adirondacks. For every dollar spent at one of our local businesses, 37 cents comes from someone who doesn't live here. And when we look at the labor income, that number rises to 40 cents. So nearly half of all the money that's going into the pockets of our workers is coming from visitors. And so we know we have to continue to get that right and bring those outside dollars in. And for the last 12 years, we have been the second fastest growing visitor economy in New York State and one of the fastest growing in the Northeast. And so I think we've done a terrific job at doing that. And I think you all deserve a round of applause here. And to accomplish that, I want to thank the team at Roost. I want to thank our funding partners at Essex County, at Hamilton County, at Franklin County, our partners in Tupper Lake and in Saranac Lake. We understand the challenge, and we're honored to work on your behalf. I also want to thank Gary Douglas and his team for working on the tourism issue. I know that we can get through this because of the people in this room, and we're going to continue to deliver on the work ahead. And we're also going to do that in partnership with Governor Hochul. She has expressed time and time again her commitment to our region. She invested $10 million in Ticonderoga, where right now thousands of Star Trek fans are meeting William Shatner. She's invested $4.5 million in Keysville, where we have a young farmer movement trying to sell their goods to all the markets across New York State and the Northeast. She's invested in the rail trail. She's invested in critical infrastructure in Blue Mountain Lake, at Adirondack Experience, and in Tupper Lake, in North Elba, and tens of millions of dollars right here in Saranac Lake, including the Trudeau campus, including the rail trail, including DRI projects, and of course the total rehabilitation of the Saranac Lake Civic Center, where hopefully people enjoyed the cool weather during the recent heat wave. So we have a lot of work ahead of us. We have to continue to advocate for our needs, but with the people in this room and our partnership with Governor Hochul, I'm very confident that we can achieve that. So thank you all very much, and again, Governor Hochul, thank you for everything.
Please welcome to the stage Gary Douglas, President and CEO of the North Country Chamber of Commerce.
William Shatner is a Montreal boy. So he's not part of the 30% not coming here. I'm happy to have him as an example. First, I want to vary from my remarks a little bit up front because I have not until now had a chance in person to thank our rock star economic development governor for, and this is very appropriate to the U.S.-Canadian discussion, securing a $35 million investment by a Canadian company, Microbird, for what will be over 300 jobs in Plattsburgh, New York. Thank you. The story will eventually be told, but that project would not have happened without the personal engagement and involvement of the governor. It isn't just that she was the governor and the people beneath her worked on it. They all did too. She personally made it happen. Thank you, Kathy. What a difference an hour makes. I leave Plattsburgh at 2:15, thinking that we're on the cusp in a couple of weeks of a major trade agreement between the U.S. and Canada. Prime Minister Carney is predicting very positively it's going to happen. I'm listening to the news on the way over. Suddenly I hear, oh my gosh, the White House has announced they're suspending all trade negotiations with Canada, and in 7 days we'll announce a whole raft of tariffs on Canadian goods. This is the kind of disruption that all of us, including all of our business community of all sectors, is dealing with. It isn't just tariffs. It's this roller coaster uncertainty. They're on, they're off, they may be on, they may be off. We may have a deal, we don't have a deal. We have to get past this. It's disrupting manufacturing and supply chains, particularly in our region, because so many of our manufacturers have cross-border supply chains with Canada. Let's be frank, why would they be here otherwise? You disrupt those supply chains, you're disrupting the very reason for manufacturing in most cases, and certainly all new manufacturing investment to be in the North Country and to look at us. So, symbolic of what chamber execs and governors have to do sometimes in response to events, the first minute I got here, I went into the chamber office out front. I said, okay, I need a pen, a sheet of paper, and a desk, because I had to revise my remarks. For the North Country, our special connection with Canada isn't about where we are, but who we are. There is simply no place in the U.S. that enjoys as unique an historical, social, and economic intertwining with Canada as we do. We often say it, and it's true, what's good for Canada is good for us, and what is bad is bad. It's no surprise, then, that a survey of North Country businesses of all kinds showed a 97% opposition to tariffs on Canada. So when do you ever get 97% on anything? I'm sure, Kathy, you'd love to have 97% on a lot of things. It doesn't happen very often. As a microcosm of cross-border integration, we have become binational highlighters of the impacts of such tariffs if fully applied, steering clear of the politics and focusing on facts. But what saddens us most is the unprecedented impact we are seeing not on economics, but on the very special people-to-people bond. With Canadian visitations in our area firmly down this year for 30%. I don't believe that's going to reverse this year, but we have to work hard and creative and in ways of outreach to lay the foundation to turn it around, hopefully, by this time next year. For us, this social connection is not about mere neighbors and visitors, but people regarded as friends and family. And you know, when a family member, when a true friend gets upset with you about something, there's a depth and a hurt that goes with that that's different than just a disagreement. Oh, I don't like that. I'm unhappy with you right now. That can always happen between friends and family, but it makes it deeper and more troubling about what we need to do to reverse it. As we approach Canada Day on Tuesday, we respect Canada's history and sovereignty as a great country. A round of applause for that. We do not forget Canadians as the people who stormed the beaches of Normandy with us 81 years ago, who joined the Union Army during our Civil War in the tens of thousands in support of freedom, who saved our diplomats in Tehran at risk to their own, who took our people into their homes at Gander on 9/11, who shed blood with us in Afghanistan, and who together created an unprecedented shared prosperity for our peoples. Adversaries? I think not. We display the Canadian flag all about. I see it in several places here in the village of Saranac Lake, and love hearing French in our restaurants and stores. We cheer for the Habs, well, many of us do. We miss the Expos. We seniors have fond memories of Lorne Greene as a father figure on Bonanza. We stop and listen whenever we hear Leonard Cohen's Hallelujah. We genuinely enjoy the interaction and befriending between us at our parks, campgrounds, ski areas, and marinas, and in turn, our regular visits north. We feel what they feel, as they always have in reverse. We have much work ahead to help reaffirm and renew this precious relationship with our friends and neighbors. But we have in our governor someone who appreciates and understands our cross-border connections like no other governor has, coming from a border region herself. And we look forward to shared outreach and dedication to the cause of friendship going forward. We have a lot of work to do, and we're ready to do it together with you, Governor. We can turn this around. We can reaffirm our friendship with our family and friends across the border. Onward and upward, and I'm happy to introduce Mike Murphy with the New York Farm Bureau.
Good afternoon. My name is Michael Murphy, and I'm the manager and junior partner at Child Stock Farms. We grow certified seed potatoes and leafy greens in Franklin County. I'm also on the New York Farm Bureau State Board of Directors and serve Clinton, Essex, Franklin, and St. Lawrence counties. Thank you, Governor Hochul, for your time and for including farmers in these important discussions. We appreciate the agricultural roundtable on tariffs back in March, and your intervention for the family detained by ICE in Sackett's Harbor. Your support and chance to share our challenges is much appreciated. I'd like to begin by talking about rural health care, an issue critical for the North Country farmers and their employees. Cuts to the federal funding for hospitals have a disproportionate impact on rural communities, where healthcare resources are already limited and stretched thin across large geographic areas. Additional funding reductions would have devastating consequences for access to essential care. Living close to quality medical services can make all the difference. My wife and I are fortunate to live just 15 minutes from Adirondack Medical Center in Saranac Lake, a factor that played a major role in our decision to move to the area. It's one of the last hospitals in our region still offering labor and delivery services, which are critically important for families like ours. Even accessing a primary care doctor is challenging. Our local provider is booking routine visits 6 months to a year out. Just as access to healthcare is fundamental to the well-being of New York farmers, so too is a stable workforce. Our farm simply wouldn't function without the contributions of our 50 immigrant workers who make our operation possible. From hand harvesting cilantro to packing potatoes, operating and repairing equipment, these individuals provide skilled, dependable labor that is essential to our success. Because our labor needs are seasonal, we're able to participate in the H-2A visa program to fill these positions. But not all farms in New York are so fortunate. Dairy, the state's largest agricultural industry, requires year-round labor and is excluded from the H-2A program. Congress's decades-long failure to pass meaningful immigration reform has left many farms without a viable way to hire the skilled workers they need, putting their businesses and livelihoods at risk. In the North Country and across the state, farmers need clear, consistent, comprehensive immigration policies. The back and forth from the federal government is exhausting and disruptive. One day, mass deportations are promised. The next day, there's a talk of exemptions for farm workers. And then it's back to raids and removals. This uncertainty creates fear and instability in the workforce we all depend on. Immigrant workers are the backbone of New York's agricultural economy. They are highly skilled, deeply experienced, and bring tremendous value to our farms. They are people we care about, members of our community, and they deserve safety, dignity, and respect. Alongside labor and healthcare, trade policy is another area where inconsistency creates real harm for New York farmers. We support fair trade, but the imposition of steep and unpredictable tariffs has serious consequences for our operations. Higher duties on essential inputs like fertilizer, steel, fuel, and pesticides translate into higher costs for farmers. And when tariff rates constantly change, it becomes nearly impossible to plan financially with any certainty. New York farmers are also concerned about the long-term risk of retaliatory tariffs, which threaten to reduce U.S. growers' market share to key global market exports. Once we lose those markets to foreign competitors, they're very difficult to regain. Maintaining a stable, reciprocal trade relationship with Canada is particularly important for our business. We've invested years building trusted partnerships with buyers and vendors across the border. Our success depends on consistent, equitable trade, not abrupt policy shifts that undermine that trust. Whether it's healthcare, immigration, or trade, what New York farmers need is stability, clarity, and policies that support our essential work so we can take advantage of all the opportunities available. Thank you for your time. And next up is Dr. Bill Borges, Chief Medical Officer from Hudson Headwaters.
Thank you to Governor Hochul and your team for inviting Hudson Headwaters to be a part of this timely opportunity in the North Country. I'm Dr. Bill Borges, family physician and the Chief Medical Officer of the Hudson Headwaters Health Network. More than 20 years ago, I returned to this area, very much happy to come home. I was born in Queensbury, New York, and extremely happy to be here now more than 20 years serving my community and the people of this region. Hudson Headwaters is a nonprofit network of 26 community-based primary care centers serving over 150,000 patients of all ages, all the way from Saratoga County to the Canadian border and out to the west towards Malone. We serve 7 counties in total, an area of about 8,000 square miles, roughly the size of the state of New Jersey, to put that in perspective. Since our founding, the mission of the network has remained the same: to provide the best health care and access to that care for everyone in our communities. We believe in that strongly, and we try to uphold that with every patient every day. Since our founding in 1981, Hudson Headwaters has benefited from widespread bipartisan support from federal, state, and local representatives. Together, we have strengthened a healthcare system that meets the needs of medically underserved communities. Today, I'm very happy to be joined by several of my colleagues, including primary care physicians who serve families in Saranac Lake, Tupper Lake, and Lake Placid. I know they see firsthand and would agree with me that now more than ever, we are faced with enormous challenges, and thankfully, we know we are not alone. We depend on like-minded partners to meet the growing needs of our region. Our public health officials, hospitals, and other medical organizations across the Adirondacks in the North Country work together on behalf of our shared patients and communities. Here in the Tri-Lakes, I'd like to acknowledge and thank our hospital partner and fellow safety net provider, Adirondack Health. The work we do is an immense privilege. It also comes with unique challenges as mounting barriers continue to affect our patients, including some of our region's most vulnerable individuals and families. Medicaid cuts, as currently proposed, will impact us directly, very much in the negative, on the order of millions of dollars. By our estimates, we anticipate losing roughly $2.3 million as an organization with those cuts alone. According to the Community Health Center Association of New York State, changes are projected, as you heard earlier, to hit the state on the order of roughly $300 million, roughly 11% of total patient revenue. One of the biggest impacts of Medicaid is that it may force people to rethink their health care because of cost. Over the more than 20 years I have practiced in this area, I have personally taken care of many thousands of patients who benefit from Medicaid. And I'm certain that at best, much of that care would have been delayed without their access to Medicaid. And at worst, some of that care would never have happened at all. So preserving Medicaid is essential. We really believe strongly in that. I also think of our dental patients and those desperately wanting to be our dental patients. Right now, we have a waiting list of more than 5,000 patients who want to get into our dental clinics. We are one of the very few dental practices that accepts Medicaid. We are constantly brainstorming and trying to come up with ideas to increase access, but we know that that is one of our biggest challenges now and in the years going forward. Our ability to plan for the future and to address our region's needs is further compounded by recent efforts to restrict the federal 340B federal drug pricing program. Since the 340B program was created with bipartisan support in 1992, it has proven absolutely essential for nonprofit health service providers to stretch scarce resources and to step in when key services are in danger of being cut. At Hudson Headwaters, we reinvest those 340B savings. It helps us to build health centers like the one we're about to open in Malone, like the one we recently opened in Salem, New York, to our south. We believe this program is essential for what we do. Another important example of what 340B has done for us is it enabled us to expand and prevent the closure of some obstetrical services in the regions. About 2 years ago now, one of the large OB-GYN providers in Warren County was about to close. With the help of funding from the 340B and with the help of partners to our south, we were able to help preserve that practice. And we're proud to say that we're happy at preserving OB-GYN care in the Adirondacks as part of that initiative. As we face further proposed Medicaid reductions and restrictions to the 340B federal drug pricing program, we know that we could be facing devastating consequences and be forced to further reduce or potentially even eliminate some services. So we will, and we hope to work with all of you to keep a close eye on that program and to preserve every bit as much of it as we can. Lastly, to the many leaders working to protect Medicaid, 340B, and access to health care, we thank you. We thank everyone in this room who is committed to preserving health care in the region. Please remain firm in your fight because thousands of New Yorkers, particularly in this region but across the state, depend on you and the efforts you're going to put forth. Thank you for having me here today. And lastly, I'd like to introduce Nicole Lauren as our next speaker.
Good afternoon. I'm happy to say I made it through the first challenge, which was getting up the stairs without tripping. Some of us were concerned about that, so the rest of this should go smoothly. Thank you all for joining us today, and a big thank you to Governor Hochul, Allie, and the entire office for putting this together on rather short notice. I think I'm grateful to Allie, but I'll let you know when this is done. JCEO is a private, not-for-profit community action agency that has been serving Clinton and Franklin counties for 59 years. One of the primary needs we assist with year after year is food. Food insecurity is not your growling stomach, which I'm suffering from right now because I was afraid to eat before I came here. It's actually not having access to sufficient food of an adequate quality to meet your basic needs. It is a growing issue in our region and one that touches every corner of our community. It's parents who skip meals so their children can eat. It's seniors who choose to buy prescriptions instead of groceries. And it's working families who do absolutely everything right month after month and they just can't make ends meet. This crisis is set to get a lot worse if proposed cuts to programs like SNAP, WIC, Medicaid, LIHEAP, and the Community Services Block Grant, to just name a few, actually go through. They aren't just programs, they are lifelines. In the past 3 years alone, the number of food insecure individuals we have helped has tripled, and we are currently on track for another 20% increase this year. The other food pantries and food shelves in our region are feeling the same exact things. They're reporting the same trends. The need is rising, and it's beginning to outpace the current available resources. I can't imagine what this is going to look like if resources like SNAP and WIC Medicaid go away. In 2024, our agency distributed over 1.1 million pounds of food into our service area. This food went to single-parent and two-parent households. It went to grandparents raising their grandchildren and sometimes even great-grandchildren. And sometimes it went to people who were just struggling. They're having one rough month. You don't know when that's going to happen. These are not just statistics and demographics. They're stories of real people, real lives, and real struggles. Over 30% of the clients we served last year told us that they skipped meals regularly. That's nearly 1 in 3 of every household who walked through our doors, and we see thousands of people every year who skipped meals. And that's not in another state, that's not another country, that's right here in the North Country. Food insecurity doesn't just impact physical health. It affects mental health, child development, academic performance, workplace productivity, and the overall well-being of our entire community. It's not just a hunger issue, it's an economic, educational, and healthcare issue too. If funding for these critical programs is reduced or even eliminated, people in our community, so these could be your friends, your neighbors, your coworkers, even your family, will face dire consequences. I don't say this to be dramatic, it may sound that way, but this is the potential reality that we're facing in the North Country. When we talk about food insecurity, we're not talking about politics, we're not talking about Democrat or Republican or red or blue. We are talking about supporting one another, and we are talking about helping our friends and our neighbors. Thank you.
Before we close for today, I hope you have a chance to reflect on all the voices you heard from your neighbors. We didn't bring them from other parts of the state. These are the people who live and work among you. An anxious farmer, worried about where his workers are going to come from. People in healthcare, not sure how they're going to provide services if Medicaid is cut the way they're talking about it. People in charge of economic tourism and development, hoping that our friends will keep coming here and what that means for our local businesses, and will we survive this? This is not a political event, but there is politics at play here, and all of us are citizens of a great country where the body politic is all of you. All of us have a responsibility to stand up and call it out, or else it'll be too late. That is the threat we're facing right now, and I'm not one to exaggerate. But we have to stop this bill from happening, and these policies have to be stopped, and you have the most powerful voices. You have an influential member of Congress who can do the right thing tomorrow, right? We can listen, I'm going to give everybody, I have hope, because I know that when your voices are amplified, when you leave here and you get to everybody in your network and their network and all the ways you influence people, whether it's social media or sitting at the corner bar, your voices must be lifted up at this moment of time because the rest of the country is counting on us. They want that miracle in the North Country that I've promised them. That's why I came up here, not just because it's a beautiful place, because of the beautiful people who care. And before I leave, I have to think about, again, what Mike Murphy talked about when he mentioned what happened to that family in Sackett's Harbor. I didn't sleep for 2 weeks, wondering the whereabouts of a third grader and her teenage twin brothers and their mother. I got a call from the farmer. I'm sure our politics are probably not in alignment. Rather certain of that. But he called me with such desperation, literally old McDonald's farm. And he said, I tried calling our local congresswomen. There's 2 that represent the county. 2 people could have stepped up and called Washington and said, stop this insanity. These are hardworking people. They've been coming here for years. And the dad wasn't there at 6 a.m. when ICE agents came blasting through the door, bearing guns with their faces covered. They must have been terrorized, thinking that someone's going to kill them. Who are these people? Imagine the trauma on a little girl to see that. And dad's not home because where's dad? Dad's already out milking the cows at 6 a.m. because that's what hardworking immigrants do. And he should have come back. And they placed this family in a van and keep them there for a long time. They were searching for someone else. They had that person. They could have left this family alone. I'm still so spitting angry when I think about this. And they were taken away. No one knew where they were. But I'll tell you what gave me such hope. When this community rose up, everybody rose up. This community, the school superintendent, the principals, the neighbors, the other farmers. And Scott Gray, assembly member, Scott, yeah, I know Scott. And local county legislators, Billy, others, stood up and said, we're not going to tolerate this. And I got on the phone with Tom Homan. I didn't count on a call like that. It's his hometown. It was his hometown. He knows Sackett Harbor. He knows how tight this community is. And I called and said, I want that family brought home. You cannot do this. You said you were going to go after the worst of the worst. You're going after the criminals, the bad people, the drug traffickers, the human traffickers. I'm okay, get rid of them. I said this in Congress under grilling for 8 solid hours. I said, I will help you get rid of them. I don't want any person here who's going to violate our laws or hurt other people. That's okay. But you didn't say you're going to go after little kids and separate families and leave farmers without their workers. And I spent time in Congress, and I introduced a bill so dairy farmers could get year-round workers legally. And I was in the minority as a Republican Congress, and they said no. It would have been a simple resolution for our industry, one of the greatest in the country, our dairy industry. We can't take no anymore for an answer from them. We just can't. We just can't. We have voices, we have power, we have influence, and it's time for us to say, you say yes or you go. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.